Minnesota Vikings post-game aftermath, man. Losing to the Green Bay Packers 23-6. This is one of the worst. This is, man, I don't know. It's like it's one of the most darkest days of Minnesota Vikings football. And I've seen over the years of just paying attention to the NFL, man, growing up a Cleveland Browns fan, now a Minnesota Viking fans. There have been years that I look back on that were just dark days of the particular NFL team that I was rooting for. Right now, it's the Minnesota Vikings. And this offense is so putrid, man. Like it's one of these things this year where everything that we've done that was meant to be a home run or meant to really improve this football team just hasn't worked out. Just hasn't worked out, bruh. It just hasn't worked out, man. From the defensive line improvements, from the offensive line improvements. As soon as we get our offensive line back, for this game, Ryan Kelly comes back. And then now by the end of the game, we've got Darisaw out. We've got Donovan Jackson out. Man, it's just one of these years. TJ Hawkinson is just a shell of himself. We go all in on the emotional trade is what I call it. The emotional trade of bringing in Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen drops at least one ball every game. And then you got, our franchise quarterback, man, that is just going through it, fellas. He's just going through it. And I know this is what has to happen. I know a lot of people are going to be caught up in how bad this feels and how terrible this feels. And they're going to be calling for J.J. McCarthy's head, replace him with Max Brosmer. But I know it's tough to watch, man. I can't even get on there and debate and argue with you about what's going on. It's almost like, the offense and JJ wasn't going to be happy until he threw multiple interceptions. Credit to KOC. He tried to establish the run today. He tried to do that to help JJ McCarthy out. Again, pedestrian numbers, still threw 2 picks. Just bad right now, man. It's just bad. Looking at the stats, JJ McCarthy, 12 for 19, 87 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, QBR 36.8. Jordan Mason carried the ball 8 times for 42 yards. Longest run was 22 yards. You had a just weak ass tush push from TJ Hawkinson. He gets a carry. Aaron Jones gets 9 carries, 41 yards. JJ McCarthy, 2 carries, 10 yards. Justin Jefferson, 4 receptions for 48 yards. TJ Hawkinson, 4 receptions for 19 yards. Aaron Jones, 3 receptions for 16 yards. All of this bad quarterback play, offensive play calling, man, it's just tainting everything. It's just tainting everything. Was Jordan Addison even in the game? And I don't mean that at the expense of Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison had a couple of nice blocks today. But again, he's a weapon. Remember when, and this is why I hate these narratives, man. Remember when things weren't going well at the beginning of the season and everybody was like, well, let's wait until we get Christian Darisaw back. Let's wait until we get Jordan Addison back. And people were making all of these excuses, building in all these crutches for why, things weren't progressing or looking good earlier in the year. And I just told you, man, it's not about people being out. You've got to go out and make plays. And right now, the Minnesota Vikings offense, man, I just don't. I've never been at a loss for words when it comes to this team. Like I just don't see a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of us being able to move the ball effectively. This is the worst this offense has looked in a very long time. This is the worst quarterback play that I've seen, man, since God rest his soul, Tavares Jackson, when he was the quarterback. Like, this is just bad play. Like, you know that if you can pin the Vikings in at their own 20-yard line, the chances of them driving down the field for an 80-yard drive, man, is just slim to none. And then you look at the Green Bay Packers. I thought the Green Bay Packers today called a very conservative game. They had no fear that the Minnesota Vikings could even score. So there was no really sense of urgency on the Packers side to blow this thing up. They knew basically all they had to do was get to about 20 points. And they knew that the Minnesota Vikings were going to have a hard time even getting there. I mean, this thing is bad. It's multiple sacks. It's the turnovers. It's the ineffectiveness of moving the ball down the field. And it's tough. It's tough, man, because I know you have to figure out what this kid has. I know you have to figure out what JJ McCarthy has. You know, what would be your reason other than to try to win meaningless games now, because we have no shot at the playoffs? In terms of winning these meaningless games, man, where if you put a guy like Max Brosmer in, you know, maybe he would be more effective than a JJ McCarthy in terms of he's played more college football. He's a little bit more experienced. He's older than a JJ McCarthy. The Minnesota Vikings are stuck. Like, you have to play this kid. And where JJ McCarthy is in his development, man, I just don't think that things are going to look great down the stretch. I mean, he is ineffective. And here's the thing. Everybody is, you know, there's always been some excuse. You know, it's been like, and I've been right there with you, UP Nation. I've been right there with you. There's always been some excuse where it's, you know, Christian Darrisaw's out, you know, Jordan Addison was out. It's the play calling of KOC. What I see from J.J. McCarthy right now, where he is in his development as a Minnesota Vikings franchise quarterback, I just think he processes things really, really slow. He processes things really, really slow. Of course, the All-22 is not out, but I would be interested to watch that. There have been times when you look at the film in the past where you have wide receivers streaking open down the field. You saw it a couple times today. You also saw running backs out in the flat that JJ could have hit that he did not hit. He's just not seeing things quick enough, fast enough. Not sure why that is. Like, what's different? I know the pro game is different than the college game, but again, there is a semblance of things being the same. Like, I just don't understand why he's processing things so slow. And you can see it when the sacks started. He got a little bit skittish. He was looking around. Feet got happy. Fundamentals started to fail him. You talk about KOC always talks about feet and eyes, feet and eyes, feet and eyes. Well, those feet started to dance a little bit. You saw him start to turtle up a little bit. You saw his confidence start to wane. And I just knew that once the Minnesota Vikings got to 6 and then all this trouble started to happen, that I knew that they were probably going to stay on 6 for the majority of the game. And this offense is just putrid. And the optics of it is going to get worse. You think when we have to go to Seattle and face a guy like Sam Darnold, who had a bad game last week, but he seemed to rebound this week, who's having a stellar year in the conversation for MVP, and you go from a quarterback that we used to have last year, that 90% of the time was effective last year, except for big games and in the playoffs. Now you go from that, which is going to be showcased in Seattle, and now you have a guy like J.J. McCarthy, man, that right now is just having trouble moving the football. I mean, this is as bad as I've seen it. And we continue to put our defense in predicaments where they're just on the field all the time. And credit to Matt LaFleur, man. He was just like, listen, the Minnesota Vikings offense is not good. We're going to have these sustained drives. We're going to be conservative. We're going to run the ball down the Minnesota Vikings' throat. We're going to control the time of possession so we can just fatigue this defense. And then we're going to give the Minnesota Vikings offense, who is already bad, we're going to give them a few bites at the apple. And that essentially was the game plan for the Green Bay Packers. And it was very effective. Even with the limited amount of possessions that the Minnesota Vikings had, I believe they only had 4 yards total offense for the second half. The Green Bay Packers just controlled the ball, man. I just think this is terrible. Shout out to my guy, Norsefius, who said, what's the timeline for J.J. McCarthy? And I said, it's tough to put a timeline on these quarterbacks. And there have been franchises right now that have regretted letting their quarterbacks go too early, man. But this is getting a little bit tough to watch. Like there's not that step forward. There's not that level of improvement from week to week. Like this thing, you could argue that this thing is just staying the same. And you could argue that this thing is getting worse. Like this was supposed to be a conservative game plan for the Minnesota Vikings. KOC ran the ball early more than I had ever seen KOC run the ball. And I think they were trying to help J.J. McCarthy out with that pass rush. Also not put him in a situation where he had an opportunity to throw a lot of picks early in the game where things could just go bad in the game. And it was effective early, but then we just stopped being able to move the ball. And the defense was on the field all the time. The weapons that we have, man, it's got to be frustrating for guys like Jets, Jordan Addison. It's got to be frustrating, man. But I don't even know where to go with this, UP Nation. Like, I don't even know where to go with this. Put them in the comments, man. Where do you think the Minnesota Vikings should go with this? They've got to continue to play J.J. McCarthy. They got 6 games left, man. What do you do? What do you go to? Do you make a change already? If you make a change, is there any coming back from that? You put in Sam Brosmer. Is there any coming back to that once you take a J.J. McCarthy out of the lineup? Like, I don't think you make that move. I can understand the emotions of it. I can understand the argument of it. We can't keep playing like this. But hell, man, I don't know how you make the move. Where do the Minnesota Vikings go from here, man? Because this is bad. You can see the frustration on KOC's face. The body language started to permeate throughout the team. The defense is saying, man, we're keeping you guys in it. And every time you go out there on offense, you get sacked for a long play, so you can't stay on schedule as 2-17. Then you get backed up on the goal line, and you get almost 2 safeties. And let me tell you, the special teams show up every single game with some sort of negative play or play that's going to make a negative impact for the Minnesota Vikings and this football team. Every game, the special team shows up, whether it's a fumble, whether it's letting them have a long kick return, penalties, you name it. Our special team has found a way to been at their worst when their best was required. And I think at least on that front, for sure, there's got to be a special teams coaching change at the end of the season. Enough is enough. I don't know if making a change during the season is going to help anything. I don't think so. But our special teams coach has to go, man. This thing with 6 games left, I think what pretty much any Minnesota Vikings fan out there wants to see is just a step forward. Like, isn't that what you want to see? Is just a step forward? UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation, just a step forward. from a quarterback standpoint, and we're not getting that, man. We're just it's so frustrating to watch. We're just not getting that. We cannot sustain drives. And it's going to be if we continue to play like this, being that we have to continue to play JJ McCarthy just to see what he's got, just to see what he's got. Man, it's going to be a long season. It's going to be some long Sundays. It's going to be some boring Sundays. Man, it's like watching varsity versus JV out there right now. It's like there is no, we just have no threat. Like we can't put drives together. We can't string drive together, and all of our weapons are just being snuffed out. Jordan Addison was on the field for 90% of the plays today, and it was like he was not even out there. We couldn't get him the ball. He didn't have many targets. I mean, this offense is looking putrid. And maybe I'm in the wrong, man. I don't know if I'm always right, but do you continue to go with this? I think you have to play it out. I think you have to play it out. I just don't. It's just going to be tough to watch, man. I think we got to let this thing play out for the 6 games, Minnesota Vikings. And listen, I will shut my mouth when it comes to people that want to make a change because I get it. I get it. I just think for the long term, I just think we have to be sure. I think what we're starting to see now is really consistent. I'm not giving up on the kid, but it's starting to get to the point now where it's like, okay, now JJ, you've got to take a step forward, and we're just not seeing that, man. We're just not seeing that. Don't know what to say, but it's just a frustrating time for Minnesota Vikings football right now. And there's just no light at the end of the tunnel, man. No light at the end of the tunnel. I'm interested to hear what UP Nation has to say out there about this game. Put your thoughts in the comments, man. Before we get out here, we'll try to answer a few. But this is just bad football, man. And it makes guys like the Colin Cowherds of the world look right. You know, he picked the Minnesota Vikings to finish last in this division. Wasn't very high on J.J. McCarthy. And right now we're doing everything that we possibly can to make guys like Colin Cowherd look right. Purple Soda in the house right now for me, man. It's not even about JJ. It's the team as a whole. Brother, I hear you. I hear you, man. But this stuff it starts with the struggles of the offense, man. And it's just like a domino effect throughout the team. I think everybody is just getting a little bit frustrated. And, you know, it's easy to sit here and say that, man, people, you know, need to be professional. You know, they get paid to come to work. But human beings are human beings, man. These guys are out there getting frustrated. You look at a guy like Jordan Addison, man, who was out there, again, 90% of the plays. Was he really even targeted today? It was like he didn't even play in the game. Black Al Bundy in the house, man. Coach, this team, I tell you, listen, man, I hear you, Black Al. I hear you, man. This is going to be tough to watch every single Sunday. And again, I'm with Purple Soda. I'm not putting it 100% on J.J. McCarthy. But don't we have to at least take a step forward, man? Like, I just feel like since the Detroit Lions game, J.J. McCarthy has plateaued. And some people may even argue that he's gotten worse. Like, I thought KOC had a really conservative game plan today, man. He was trying to establish the run. He was trying not to have these games where J.J. McCarthy was throwing the ball 30, 42 times a game, and he still comes in there and throws 2 picks. What do you do, Purple Soda? Black Al, what do you do? Do you make a change at quarterback, or do you just ride this thing out, man? That's what I want to hear about. Like, I'm just like at a crossroads. You guys know I have been on the side of the fence where I'm just like, man, we just got to give this kid every opportunity in the world. And I'm still true to that. I'm still on board with that. But I know this is getting tough to watch. And I don't want to lose a guy. I don't want to lose a guy like Jets, man. And you could see Jets 2 touchdowns this year. And I'm telling you, this dude is all about his legacy. He's all about this legacy, man. Purple Soda said, I'm just looking at the season overall so far, how we just find a way to lose, man. Every game. And as I said earlier, special teams always finds a way to show up and affect the game some way, somehow. You could argue that game was close. We had an opportunity to possibly take the lead in the game, and special teams lets us down again. You know, our returner getting pushed into the football, they get a fumble recovery, score a touchdown, a couple plays later, man. It's just any way the Minnesota Vikings can find a way to lose football games, they are finding ways to lose football games. But where do we go from here, man? Right now, as the team is constructed, we're over the cap next year, and we've got to make a decision of where we want to go. Because to get under the cap, we're going to have to make some tough decisions and let some people go that have been stalwarts of this football team. Purple Soda again saying, man, I know we all say let JJ finish, but can't we just at least give Max a quarter? Hey, man, I can't argue that, Purple Soda. I can't. You know, if you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, brother, I would have said give JJ McCarthy without fail the rest of the season. But I don't know, man. This is getting tough to watch. Black Al Bundy, people were out on Bryce Young, and look how that turned out. He's balling out now, yet still makes mistakes. We have to give JJ time. I can't argue that either. I'm just saying, Black Al, I hear you. I think you're right in your thinking. But does the Minnesota Vikings fan base, do they have the stomach for that? Like, if it looks this way for the remaining 6 games, do we have the stomach for it to continue to look like it did today? I don't know if our fan base has the stomach for that, man. And I think it's the right thing to do. Like I said before, man, I'm right there with you. Like, I'm not arguing that. You know, I could see a situation where, you know, if this thing first half next week doesn't improve, you've got J.J. McCarthy out there getting his ass kicked, man. Getting sacked, getting beat up. You know, you don't want a whole nother Carson Wentz situation. Do you give Max Brosmer, you know, a half? I think the Minnesota Vikings internally really fear that because, honestly, I don't think it can get any worse at the quarterback position right now. So you put a guy like Max in, you know, odds are he's probably going to do a little bit better. I agree. Bryce Young had some tough years, you know, but the Carolina Panthers, when they brought in Bryce, I don't think the team was constructed like the Minnesota Vikings team was constructed. I mean, the consensus was that the Minnesota Vikings were going to be a playoff team. This was the best roster that a young quarterback could walk into. And right now, man, you know, it's not showing that. And I think the quarterback play is affecting everything. Purple Soda chimes in, do you know if Darisaw and Jackson's injuries were bad? I don't think that they were that bad. I think Jackson, he got rolled up on a blitz. I just think it's probably, you know, a minor ankle sprain. And then Christian Darisaw hurt his foot with a guy that big. You know, that's his base. Nothing official has come out in terms of what the exact injuries were. None of them looked really, really serious. But I always worry about big guys and their base. It may take a little bit longer, especially when you play the offensive line. So I could see them, both of them, possibly missing a week. I just don't think it's going to be long term. Black Al Bundy said, I've seen Josh Freeman play for this team. I think I can stomach watching JJ play. I remember the Josh Freeman, man. That was Josh Freeman, newly acquired Minnesota Vikings quarterback, came in there and crapped the bed, man. Yeah, that's a good take. because that was some bad football as well. Although I would love to go back and look at the numbers, I would argue that it's still not as bad as the games that we've seen from J.J. McCarthy lately. And I'm right there with you, man. I'm not, don't get it twisted. I'm not on board saying that we should make a change. I'm just saying before I wasn't hearing it. And right now I can understand the argument because this is ugly. Purple Soda says, I do know that we miss the playoffs every other year. That's right. I said that coming in to the beginning of the season. Being that we made the playoffs last year before the season even started, I said we usually go every other year making the playoffs. Could this be a year where we did it back to back? I thought the X factor was going to be the quarterback position. And if J.J. McCarthy would be ready to take over, because, again, the roster was just ready, built, had injuries early on in the season, man, and then J.J. McCarthy just has not played well. He just has not played well, man. This is tough. Yeah, that was horrible, but that's my point about teams overall. We just panic and make a bad things worse. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And again, I just think the optics of this, it's about the Minnesota Vikings fan base being able to stomach this, number one. But looking at the options that we had for quarterback, number two, it's going to make this a little bit tough to take. And we're going to see it live and in color when we have to go and play the Seattle Seahawks, man, because Sam Darnold is balling. I do think Sam Darnold is going to falter down the stretch. This is all about winning Super Bowls, not building stats. And I think that's what Sam Darnold is. He's a stat builder, a.k.a. like Kirk Cousins. I think he's a guy that will not perform well in the playoffs. But, man, when you get that matchup head-to-head between Sam Darnold, who the Minnesota Vikings let go, and J.J. McCarthy, where J.J. McCarthy is at his development, fellas, I just don't see a light at the end of the tunnel coming anytime too soon for this football team, man. And it's just going to be, I didn't expect for it to look this bad. Coach, what is your take on KOC's play calling this game? I don't even have an issue with it. I thought, other than the Detroit Lions game, and the reason why I put the Detroit Lions game ahead of this game in terms of play calling is because it just looked better and we end up winning the game. I thought for the first time in a very long time, KOC used some common sense. I thought he tried to establish the run early. He was trying to run the ball. You had Ryan Kelly back at center. This was the first time, keep in mind, that we had our whole offensive line back better than ever. And I thought he was using Aaron Jones. I thought he was using Jordan Mason effectively. We were gutting the Green Bay Packers. But you can't run the whole game. At some time, J.J. McCarthy coming off a play action, utilizing that play action, man, you've got to be effective throwing the ball somewhat. And this was the first time where I thought KOC was actually trying to protect J.J. McCarthy, number one, from that pass rush and trying to keep the team on schedule in terms of down and distance, and also keeping him from situations where he had to throw the ball a million times a game. And it was effective. The Minnesota Vikings, although they weren't going up and down the field, they were in the game until that awful special teams fumble that we had that gave the Green Bay Packers the ball on the short field. They were able to score that touchdown, and then you can see the wind just come out of the Minnesota Vikings' sails. Black Al is bringing up the stats. Freeman's stats, he was 20 from 53, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 37%. He was cut shortly after. One of the worst quarterback football games that I had ever seen. The only area where I will come out and I will be an advocate for Josh Freeman and kind of give him a little bit of grace is that he was newly signed, man. J.J. McCarthy has had a training camp. He's had mini camps. They didn't want to play him in the preseason for whatever reason. But, at least he had time to kind of study the playbook. You could even argue he was on the squad last year, didn't get any practice reps, but at least he had an opportunity to see the playbook, man. Josh Freeman was newly acquired, and they threw that brother in the game, man, and that was absolutely awesome, awful. Purple Soda. So if Sam balls out in the playoffs, do we then feel we may have made the wrong choice? Listen, if Sam Darnold balls out in the playoffs and makes the Super Bowl, I'll come on here and eat crow, man. I just don't think Sam Darnold has it in him. Anytime he has to play a big game, like they had a big game this year a couple of weeks ago against the Rams, threw 4 interceptions. This is who Sam Darnold is. Sam Darnold is a good quarterback, but it all depends on what you want. Do you want to have the good season, make the playoffs and go out, or do you want to search for a guy that can get you over the hump and get into the Super Bowl? Now, I think a lot of people right now would probably take a good season because right now a lot of the Minnesota Viking fans, including myself, we're just missing competent football and winning football. So I know right now a lot of people will be like, I'll take a Sam Darnold. At least we can look like a football team and win some games. And again, man, I can't even argue that. My patience is even being tested. Black Al says Darnold showed who he was last week. Win and take first place in your division. And what's he do? Throw 4 interceptions. See, man, that's my fear. That's my fear with Sam Darnold. That stuff always shows up, bruh. It always shows up with Sam Darnold. It showed up with Kirk Cousins. I've been on my platform saying I'm tired of that quarterbacking too. Like I want somebody that can perform in those big games. And at least, man, if you had to pinpoint something out with J.J. McCarthy, when he's had those moments, he stepped up. Like he stepped up in those big moments. You could argue the Chicago Bears game. Hell, he drove the team downfield, 2-minute drill, scored the touchdown. We just gave up the special teams play. That should have been a win. But overall, man, 90% of J.J. McCarthy's game has just not been good. Purple Soda, yeah, coach, but the Rams saw him twice last year, so they may have had his number. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. McVay is a really, really good coach. The one thing that he doesn't get a lot of credit for is he and his coaching staff really does a good job at finding your weaknesses. And they obviously have a playbook on Sam Darnold because every time he comes up against them, man, not only is he ineffective, but they force him into a lot of mistakes. So they definitely have a script on Sam Darnold, man, because he just cannot perform with this team, man. But where do you go? I asked this a couple of videos ago this week. Let's say hypothetically that this thing stays the same for 6 games. I think there are a lot of people that would be out on J.J. McCarthy saying, okay, he's not the guy. But what else is out there for the Minnesota Vikings? Do you trust Kwesi to draft another quarterback? Is there another free agent quarterback out there that if you put him on this team that could galvanize this team and be more effective? Like, who's out there? Does Mac Jones do it for you? You know, give me some names because that's the part of it. People are like, hey, man, let's get rid of, J.J. McCarthy. He's a bust. He's not our guy. Well, when you say stuff like that, where do you go? Because you can't trust a draft. I mean, man, Kwesi hasn't done well in the draft. Are you going to trust Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah to draft you another quarterback? And if you draft another quarterback, how long do you give him? This fan base is not really, really patient. We've never really had that future franchise guy that we had to develop. Not really patient. Do you give him 4 or 5 games? Do you give him a whole year? Like, I think what the fan base really wants, I don't think, people are frustrated with J.J. McCarthy, man. I just think the majority of people just want to see a step forward. He's not making that step forward. I expected this game, and I said it during my pregame video, that I thought that this would be one of his better games. He usually plays a little bit better on the road than what he does at home. He's talked about going back and working on his fundamentals. Monday he's going to hit the ground running and work on things for the week. I thought Kevin O'Connell would do exactly what he did today, try to establish the run, and I just thought he would be a little bit more effective, man. I just thought he would be a little bit more effective, but Man, it just didn't turn out to be that way. 12 for 19. That's within that 15 to 20 attempt range that I was talking about. 87 yards, man. Just couldn't get it done. Just couldn't get it done. Just couldn't get it done, man. Minnesota Vikings lose to the Green Bay Packers 23-6. And again, looking at our schedule, man, going down the stretch, I don't know where this team goes from here. But, you know, at the quarterback position, I think I not to put it all on J.J. McCarthy, man, but I do think it has to start there for it not to affect other units in other areas of the football team. Purple Soda, when we got Sam last offseason, no one was impressed with the signing. I remember that, Soda. So I'm sure we can find someone decent. Maybe JJ is in his head. I'm just not sure. Kupo, Joe Mamas, I believe that next year is really the decision-making in terms of getting rid of Kwesi. Our draft class for 2026 is extremely promising. Go grab QB competition for McCarthy. I hear you, man. I don't mind bringing in QB competition, but who are we bringing in? Like, that's the question. We've always talked about patchwork quarterbacks. I know we got Sam Darnold last year, man, but, we're trying to win the Super Bowl. We're not trying to, patchwork that thing again. If that's the case, we should have went with Aaron Rodgers this year, if that was the case. So, throw me some names out there, man. Is it everybody keeps talking about Mac Jones? Is it Mac Jones? I don't know. Black Al, coach, the fact of the matter is I'm starting to find myself on the side of having no faith in this front office to draft well. Right there with you, Black Al. Where's the resume? Like, what's the proof that this front office can really do anything draft-wise? Our free agency class now was not as good as the free agency class that we brought in last year. Not that it had to be, man, but I think there were bigger expectations for this free agency class. And this free agency class is not turning out to be that good. And then on top of that, when you look at our draft picks, I will say this. Dallas Turner is starting to turn the corner. Dallas Turner, again, showed up, made some plays today. I mean, the dude is balling out. But again, Black Al, I'm right there with you, man, when it comes to Black Al says, go get Joe Milton. I don't know about Joe Milton either. But it is a name that I haven't thought about. That's not a bad take. I do think that if the Minnesota Vikings go out and they bring in some competition for J.J. McCarthy, it's going to be a vet. It's going to be a vet, man. And I just think you need to have someone to go out there that can run this offense. This is a vertical threat offense. You know who looked good today, man? Again, and he's a little bit erratic and dangerous. He's like a Nick Mullins. But Jameis Winston, man, that dude plays with no fear. He threw for over 300 today, couple of touchdowns. I haven't seen the end score of that game, but they were beating the Lions last time I saw. They were up on the Lions by 3. Guys, just they need someone in there that can push JJ, mentor him a little bit, but also create a competition level in there, man, where if things start to go bad at the start of next year, that we're just not stuck. And it just seems to me that the Minnesota Vikings right now are just stuck offensively, man. Just stuck offensively. I don't know what to say about this group. Like, this was, and what's frustrating is that we've been on KOC's ass all year long about his play calling. And I thought for the first time we saw a little bit of common sense in his play calling. I didn't like the TJ Hawkinson under center on the 3rd and 1, man. I just don't like those plays, especially when you have been running the ball effectively all game long up until then. Like, what goes into those decisions? Like, I just think at times KOC, man, he always has to be the smartest freaking guy in the room with these plays, man. And those plays just kill drives. We came away from that drive with no points. We came away from that drive with no points when we were effectively driving the ball down the field. Oh man, I can't believe that the Bears are top of the division either. It's unbelievable, man. But the coaching change is definitely coming there to help. Purple Soda says, I know the defense was on the field for a minute, but what's up with the missed tackles and lack of stopping the running game? Man, Allen and Hargrave have been a bust. That was supposed to help us, that interior pass rush up the middle, and then enhance the run game in terms of stopping it, man. It just hasn't been there, man. You know, I know the defense is fatigued, but this is the NFL, man. You got to do your job. People got to step up. Everybody uses the term next man up. Well, they have enough guys that they can rotate throughout that defensive line where they should be able to stay semi-fresh, even if the offense is not getting it done, to be an effective run-stop defense, and they're just not doing that. JJ is only 22, one of the youngest quarterbacks in the league, yet we've seen young QBs ball out, even QBs in his own class. Joe Mamas, man, listen, I hear you. Like, I don't think anybody that loves the purple or that are Minnesota Viking fans are expecting J.J. McCarthy to come out here and look like Pat Mahomes, man. But I think it's safe to say that he can look a little bit better. Like, the guy has got to look better than what he's looking, man. Just be a little bit below average. Like, he's on the floor level right now in terms of quarterbacking. At least be a little bit below average, if not average, man. Give our team some competent quarterback play. Like, you're right, it's looking bad. Black Al Bundy, Giants gave up a 64-yard rushing TD to Gibbs in OT and lost to the Lions, man. Again, this is why teams are 2-9, 2-8, because they find different ways to lose. With that being said, Jameis Winston balled out today, man. The dude just goes out there and has no fear. Norse Fias, man. What's going on? Norse is in the house. Listen, man, I got your comment this week, and you were like, Coach, put a timeline on it for J.J. McCarthy. And listen, man, but before you sent that comment in, I was like, you got to let this thing ride out for the rest of the year at least, and possibly into next year. And I still feel that way, Norse. I feel that way, brother. But I'm also like this. There's got to be some steps forward. Like, we just can't stay. There can't be the expectation for patience for J.J. McCarthy and have this thing stay where it is for the rest of the season into next year. There's got to be some progression. There's got to be there's got to be a step forward. Like, he's got the worst QBR in the league, and today he really didn't help himself. And I thought to myself before he threw that first pick, I thought to myself, this may be the first game where he hasn't thrown an interception. He throws that interception. He comes out later in the game, and I thought to myself, well, these next situations are going to be situations where he's got to throw the ball. It's late in the game. Minnesota Vikings are behind. The Green Bay Packers are going to blitz him. You could just smell another interception coming. And sure enough, he ends up throwing the pick. On top of that, just a smattering of sacks, man, going on. It's just bad optics for the Minnesota Vikings. And here's right now, I don't even think I can stomach the press conference. I'm going to watch it. To hear what KOC has to say. But he's going to mention that, we didn't play well in all three phases. That, the preparation for this team starts and ends with him. Word salad after word salad after word salad. He's going to say he appreciates the fight in his guys. He's going to talk about J.J. McCarthy where he felt like there were some plays there to be had and they didn't make it. It's going to be the same comments over and over again, man. It's tough. It's tough, man. This has been just a buzzkill. of a season, fellas. Like all of the expectations coming into this season, I think we could wrap our heads around maybe this team just missing the playoffs, man. But when everybody, once we got through the gauntlet when we were playing, the Eagles, the Lions, those teams, I thought to myself, pure like, well, we still can win about 8 or 9 games. Like, I don't see 8 or 9 wins with this team. Like, for the Minnesota Vikings to get to 8 wins, they've got to win 4 more games. They've got to win 4 more games. Where are the 4 games? Where are the 4 wins going to come from? All the teams that are left on our schedule are capable of beating us. And all the teams that are left on our schedule, I'll let you in on a little bit of secret, they can score the football. And I honestly feel the goal for most teams is going to be, hey, can we get to 20 points? We don't think the Minnesota Vikings can score 20 points. I pay attention to the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, I grew up in Cleveland, man, so I still have an eye on the Cleveland Browns. I know they start Shedeur today, but when they had Dylan Gabriel, man, and they had Joe Flacco, they couldn't score the football. And I thought that offense was bad, man. This offense is getting worse and worse every week. North says, I think Darisaw came in hurt. I've never seen him beat like a drum before. Yeah, man, I don't think that knee is right. I think it's going to be a situation like, kind of like TJ Hawkinson last year, where even when he came back, he wasn't himself. You could argue that he's not himself right now, but Darisaw is not fully healthy. And I think it's going to take an offseason for him to get back to where he was. And we won't see a healthy Christian Darisaw really until next year, man. Honestly. Black L Bunny, gotta rebuild JJ up from the ground. Mechanics, wise in the offseason, rebuild the O-line, revamp the coaching staff. Can't argue with any of that. I think that a lot of the things that JJ McCarthy has to work on are off-season things, man. It's hard to change your mechanics during the season and come out and be an effective quarterback. I think it's one of those things where it happens in minicamp. It happens during the offseason when you get that one-on-one work. I don't think we're going to see any significant changes from J.J. McCarthy this year in terms of his mechanics. Norse says then he did go out and school was the next turnstile. Hey, man, school has been a turnstile all year long. Why they signed that guy, I don't know. But he is a sieve right now. Purple Soda, JJ playing like this, we won't win any more games. Just because of the parity of the NFL, we may mess around and win 1 or 2 more games. I just don't see us getting to 8 wins. And here's what the Minnesota Vikings, you can set your watch by this, fellas. Here's what the Minnesota Vikings do every year. When we are on the path of getting a high draft pick, we always find a way to win a few games down the stretch just to screw us out of getting a high draft pick. We always find a way to do that every year. So before this game, we were the 12th pick, and you could argue if we continue to play like this, we could definitely move in the top 5. Nah, we'll find a way to win some games that we probably shouldn't win some way, somehow. And so we'll end up draft picking from around 9 to about 15. That's just kind of what the Minnesota Vikings do to themselves. Yeah, Black Al, hey, man, we got to get some corners. Murphy Jr., there's an APB out from him in terms of making plays. He got his bag, and he's done playing, man. So, we need a legit shutdown corner. I've been saying that for years. We just have not had that guy. Our secondary is suspect. Theo Jackson has been a no-show. Harry the Hitman, although I appreciate his career with the Minnesota Vikings, he's just too old now, man. Can't make plays. Northvia says, if anyone thinks about winning the rest of the year, they are badly mistaken. It's about seeing JJ grow and progress as a pro quarterback. I can't argue with it, Norse. It's just going to be tough to watch, man. I just have to go into these Sundays now with no expectations, brother. With just no expectations. I got to calm myself down, before my blood pressure rises up and just say, hey, man, it is going to be what it's going to be. The Desert Scolger, his prediction is 6-11 finish. I can see that. I can see 6 wins. I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard to get 6 wins, but I think 6-11 is a good prediction for this football team, man. People were picking, at the beginning of the season, 12, 13 wins. I never thought that. But once this team started to establish who they were going to be, and people start saying, well, maybe they can get to 8 wins, man. I'm just like, I don't think 8 wins is possible. North says the whole dang team is old. That should show y'all that free agency is not how you build a team. Draft is number one. North, hey, man, I'm right there with you. Even though Kwesi hit a home run in free agency last year, we thought this year, even, on paper, we're like, hey, man, this is back-to-back good free agency class. And this free agency class hasn't been a bust. It just hasn't been very good like we thought it was going to be. But building your team is through the draft. That is number one priority. That's where your money is made. And Kwesi has been absolutely terrible in the draft. He's hit on a couple of guys, but you could argue his best draft pick is Jordan Addison, who played 90% of the plays today and didn't even show up. And that's not any shade on Jordan Addison. I just don't think we're in a mode now where we have a quarterback that can consistently get the ball to him. And looking at all the stuff that JJ is going through with his development, man, I just think everybody is being affected by it. Jets is being affected by it. TJ Hawkinson is being affected by it. Jordan Addison is being affected by it. Adam Thielen, man. Adam Thielen drops at least 1 ball a game. And I'm talking about easy catches. Like, we're not seeing him go over the middle, and have to make tough catches, man. He's dropping hitches. He's dropping 5-yard outs. Things that used to be sure things for Adam Thielen are not sure things anymore. Like, he has a drop a game. He has a drop a game, and that's not helping the young guy out in terms of J.J. McCarthy either. So, man, it's a domino effect with this team. Nobody's playing well. I'll tell you right now, the Redmond kid is legit. The Redmond kid is legit. All the money we put in our defensive line, this kid, for 2 years in a row now, has really come out and play. And this is a kid that I think is going to be a stalwart for the Minnesota Vikings for a long time. We got to make sure that we lock him up. I would try to get out from under these Hargrave and Allen contracts. Like, if we're going to be bad, we got to make sure that we give ourselves some salary cap flexibility, get out from under these misses in these big-ass contracts, because that is not going to help us, man. This is Unconventional Playbook, man, post-game show. Again, Minnesota Vikings lose to the Green Bay Packers 23-6. Now I got to hear from my guy, Packer Paul, who I had on the show. I got to hear him talking trash for the whole week about his Packers beating the Vikings, man. But it is what it is. Hopefully we can get some better quarterback play from J.J. McCarthy, man. Hope that he can take at least a step forward in these last 6 weeks of the season, because we got to see something, man. If we don't see any progression in the last 6 weeks of the season, it is paramount that we bring in somebody that can provide some competition at that position. We cannot go into the offseason continuing to say 100% sure that this is J.J. McCarthy's team unless we start to see some progress. Norcius, free agency means overpaying for dudes that normally towards the end of their career got to start hitting on the draft every dang round. I agree with you, Norse, man. Listen, when you look at free agency, here's what it boils down to. When you sign a free agent, that means there's another team somewhere that let that guy go for whatever reason and didn't want to pay him the money. That's how free agency works. So it's a gamble, man. It's definitely a roll of the dice. Black Al, it really friggin' sucks living in Philly and being a Minnesota Vikings fan. Yeah, man, especially with the Philadelphia Eagles having that number 1 seed right now, smoking everybody, except for all that internal locker room stuff with Philadelphia, bruh. Philadelphia Eagles are looking like the team to beat. Northfield, sorry, almost forgot, but I hit that like. Hey, man, I appreciate you hitting that like. Make sure Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, man. I appreciate all y'all. Thanks for tuning in to Unconventional Playbook, man. We'll have something up tomorrow, kind of recapping this game and giving you my thoughts. Thanks for checking in. Minnesota Vikings again losing 23-6 to the Green Bay Packers. And as always, UP Nation, we will see you when we